cleanliness. Think that's cleanliness, babe. Of course it's cleanliness, but surely honesty is a close second. The stubborn glint in Joss's eyes caused my throat to almost close up. Joss was a force to be reckoned with, and if she had an opinion or wanted to say something, there was little you could do to stop her. When I first met her, she was an incredibly private person, preferring not to get involved in her friends' personal affairs. Since meeting Braden, she changed a lot. Our friendship had grown, and Joss was now the only one who really knew the truth about my life. I was thankful for our friendship, but in moments like these, I sometimes wished she was the old Joss, the one who kept her thoughts and emotions locked up tight. I'd been dating Malcolm Hendry for almost 3 months. He was perfect for me. Kind, laid back, tall, and wealthy. Malcolm was the oldest of all my sugar daddies, as Joss jokingly called them. Although at 39, he was hardly old. He was, however, 15 years my senior. I didn't care. Convinced that he might be the one, I didn't want Joss jeopardizing the progress of our relationship by insulting his good friend. Jocelyn, Braden gripped her waist again, eyeing me in my growing panic. I think it's best if you practice the art of artifice tonight after all. Finally reading my expression, Joss placed a reassuring hand on my arm. I'm kidding, Joe. I'll be on my best behavior, I promise. I nodded. It's just, things are going well, you know? Malcolm seems like a decent guy, Braden agreed. Joss made a sound at the back of her throat, but we both ignored it. My friend had made her opinion clear on my choice of boyfriend. She was convinced I was using Malcolm and he was using me. It was true that he was generous, and I needed that generosity. However, the bigger truth was, I really cared about him. Ever since my first love, when I was 16 years old, John, I'd fallen for charming providers and the idea of security for me and Cole. But John had gotten fed up with playing second fiddle to my family, and after 6 months he dumped me. It had taught me a valuable lesson. It had also given me a new requirement in a boyfriend. He had to have a good job, be driven, hard-working, and have a good income. No matter how hard I worked, with my non-existent qualifications and lack of any real talent, I was never going to make enough money to secure a stable future for my family. I was, however, pretty enough to secure a man with good qualifications and talent. About a year after I pieced myself back together from the heartbreak of my failed romance with John, Callum entered my life. 30, a well-off solicitor, gorgeous, cultured, sophisticated. Determined to make it last, I became what I imagined was the perfect girlfriend to him. It was a habit, becoming someone else, especially since it seemed to work. Callum thought I was perfect for a while. We were together 2 years, until my secretiveness about my family and my inability to let him in drove too deep a wedge between us, and he left me. It took me months to scrape myself back together after Callum, and when I did, it was to run into the arms of Tim. Horrible decision. Tim worked for an investment company. He was so mind-numbingly self-absorbed that I actually dumped him. Then there was Stephen. Stephen was a sales director for one of those annoying door-to-door sales companies. He put in long hours, which I thought might work in our favour, but it didn't. Joss thought Stephen had dumped me because of my inability to be flexible about anything because of my family obligations. The truth was, I dumped Stephen. Stephen made me feel worthless. His comments about my general uselessness brought back too many memories, and although even I thought there was little to recommend me other than my looks, when your boyfriend said the same and ultimately made you feel like a paid escort, it was time to call it quits. I took a lot of crap from people, but I had my limits, and the older I got, the narrower those limits became. Malcolm was different though. He never made me feel terrible about myself, and so far our relationship was moving along nicely. Where is Lotto Man? I shot a glance over my shoulder and searched for him, ignoring Joss's sarcasm. I don't know, I murmured. With Malcolm, I'd literally hit the jackpot, as he was a solicitor turned lottery winner. He'd won the Euro Millions 3 years ago and given up his job, his career in fact, to begin enjoying a new life as a millionaire. Used to being busy, he'd decided to try his hand at property development and now had a portfolio of properties he owned as a landlord. We were standing in an ancient red brick building with its dirty windows made up of rows of small rectangles that you'd be more likely to see in a